Welcome back, Fantasy Fiction Fanatics. It's great to see you again, and I hope you're doing well. Today is going to be a book review, and today's book is going to be Bookshops and Bonedust by Travis Baldree. For those of you who don't know, this particular book is going to be a prequel for his previous book, Legends and Lattes, which I highly recommend that book. It is such a fun read, such a light, delightful read that's not really high stakes. It just has some fun characters, a fun premise, and is just really, really great. So highly recommend that one if you haven't read that one already. It's super amazing. And I do have a review of that book already. I'll link it up here if you want to go ahead and check it out because you haven't read that one yet. This particular book is a prequel, so that means that it's going to be either way you can read it. It's not going to be that you have to read Legends and Lattes in order to read this book. Since it does happen before. But if you do read Legends and Lattes first, then you do have the idea of the main character and kind of what comes next and what this is kind of leading towards. But of course, you can read in any order. I will try not to do any spoilers for Legends and Lattes by referencing it and what is to come, so that way you don't have to worry about any spoilers that way. But if you have read it, at least then you'll have the background of the character already and a little bit of a relationship built with them if you read that one first. Now, if you like this review, that would be really great if you could give me a thumbs up or subscribe. We would love to have you as part of the Fantasy Fiction Fanatics community, and hopefully you can check out a lot of my other content and can also enjoy discussing some fantasy with me. Alright, let's get started with this review. So this is about an orc named Viv and how she recently became part of this mercenary group that is out hunting this really bad necromancer, and she ends up getting really wounded in her leg and has had to be left at this little town in order to recover, and she doesn't really like being left behind, but she has to be in order to recover from this injury, and they said that they're going to come and get her after they're done hunting down the necromancer. So this is about her time in this little town. I believe it's called Merk. So what did I like about this book? So I really do like the writing style. Again, that's something I loved from Legends and Lattes. The writing style is superb. It's so easy to read. It flows really well. It's just super, super simple, and it's nice. For the kind of story that's being written, the story writing style really fits the story of being this kind of simply told story with something that is the first one, Legends and Lattes, had a little bit less stakes. This one has a little bit more. But it still has that lower amount of stakes to it, especially since it's a prequel and you know that obviously things happen in the future. So the writing style is really great. The feel of the book does have that little bit more of that less high stakes feel, which is nice to sometimes just have something that is a little bit more easygoing, especially since fantasy is usually about epic adventures and fighting and battle and good versus evil. It's kind of nice to have a little bit more of a low stakes, or at least a lower stakes kind of story. I do really like the characters as well from this book. Most of them are different because obviously this is a prequel, so they're not the same people other than Viv. But even so, I like Viv still. I think she's really great. I like a lot of the characters that are in this story. I think it's super interesting to see like how she interacts with them, especially as she's in a different place in her life than she is in the first one. So really enjoy all of the characters and really enjoy seeing the development of some of the characters through the story. And again, overall, I really like that lightness of the story, a little bit less of the stakes. So it just kind of has a nice, smooth reading time. You don't have to stress. You don't have to be having a nail biter or worry about a really long series. It's just a standalone for this time in her life. And it just has a little bit of a lighter feel to it. So overall, really did like it. I don't feel like it has quite the same kind of feeling as the first one. It has a little bit more of those stakes and the fact that she's not in the same place in her life, and it does deal with her being attached to a merc group. but it still has that lower stakes and still a nice, little bit cozier feel. What did I not like about this book? I didn't think this book was quite as engaging as the first one. The first one, I was just zooming through that book because I was just loving it and wanting to read it. This one I still enjoyed. I still read through it quickly, but it did not have quite the same feeling of like being completely engulfed and enraptured in this book. I felt like it had, because it had a little bit more of a higher stakes, a little bit more of that action-y part to it, is it just didn't have quite the same feel as the first one did, which just made it not quite as all intense sucking into the story. So do feel like, again, it's cozy, it's nice, it's a little bit more laid back, but it isn't quite the same feel as that first Legends and Lattes. And that is, part of the thing that I also dislike, is since it's not as low stakes, it's not as engaging. So those kind of things are a pair for me. I would have preferred a little bit more of that total no stakes, no action, no real need to figure anything out, just kind of an everyday slice of life kind of thing, which it does have that. It just has a little more than the last one did. And then I just have a kind of a little bit of a neutral comment for this story, is that in case you were thinking after reading Legends and Lattes that this book is about her and her discovery of coffee, since the coffee is all about what Legends and Lattes is about, is her wanting to open a coffee shop. It unfortunately is not about that. I was really hoping that this prequel was about her discovering coffee and her then wanting to open up that shop from the first one. But unfortunately, it is not. It is about a completely different timeline, even further before she discovers coffee. And that was just a little bit of a disappointment to me. Not that it affects the story one way or another. I was just kind of hoping when I heard that it was a prequel that maybe it was going to be about that. And I was kind of looking forward to that. But unfortunately, it's not that. So if you had that misconception of thinking, oh, as a prequel, maybe it was about that, it is not. It is about being left in a town after being hurt and the whole thing that goes along with staying there, and her being worried about whether she'll be able to rejoin the Merc group soon enough. So overall, after all of that, would I recommend it? Yes, I would still definitely recommend it. I still think it's a fun read. I still think it's a nice lower stakes book. I do think it has a lot of good qualities, and it's got an excellent writing style. I just don't think you will love it quite as much as the first one. I think it is good, but I think Legends and Lattes was excellent, and this one is just really nice. So definitely still give it a read. Don't expect it to be quite the same feel and quite the same intensity of like being engaged in the book, but definitely check it out. I think you will still enjoy it. If you've already read it, please let me know your thoughts and feelings on this book. I would love to hear your thoughts and what you actually felt. If you agree, if you disagree, whatever it may be, please let me know down below. And I will see you guys in the next review. Bye.